that's what we've done. I don't know if they didn't work before, because I don't have proof of that. But I think we've made some good changes. I think we're on the right path. And I don't know how many documents this board acquired. Now, I do know that Harry sent me something, and when I printed it off, I ran out of paper about 4 times. So there is a lot to this commission, at least paper-wise. So, and I don't know how far we got with what I printed off to what we've done as a commissioner or a commission, but it seems like a lot. So I agree with Mr. Evans. You know, it might be time to take a break and look and see what we've implemented works before we go on and make any more changes, at least to what we've got so far.
Okay. Commissioner Guss?
Well, I'm new on this committee, but I'm old on that other committee. And I worked damn hard to keep the legislature from micromanage, and I worked hard to keep the director on that side from micromanaging the committee. And that's where I want this committee, let them do their work, and you don't have to amend hardly anything if you let them do their work.
Okay.
But there's a lot of legislators that don't think the way I do, but I'm not there anymore.
Okay. Can you say a little bit about what that would look like? Letting the committee do its
Well,
work.
when we bring these projects and stuff, these guys, they hammer them out. I mean, I've been here 22 years, well, longer than that. But anyway, and then after they do their work, then the Select Water Committee, well, I tell them, hey, they've heard so damn much more than we hear as Select Water. They know what they're doing, and don't be trying to micromanage them, because that wasn't what this committee was made for. This committee was to make the decisions, and we can tweak it a little but we got to do it in front of them and let them know why we're doing it. And then when it hit the Senate floor, I don't know how it worked over in the House. All the years that I carried that bill, I got challenged, I think, twice on 2 amendments in the 20 years that I carried that on the Senate floor. They just said, you don't touch this. This is the ominous water bill. You just don't mess with it. But I sound like last year they had a lot of amendments, and so I don't know what went on.
Okay. So am I hearing you say that you'd like to, if there are changes to what this commission recommends, you'd just like to have the reasons for those changes communicated back to the commission?
Well,
so
to keep them a strong committee where they're making the right decisions and spending the money where it needs to be spent. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Mr. Chair?
Well, I think my sentiments echo what's been said along here so far, is that I think we've done a lot of work changing documents and things, and I think it's been good. I think the changes have been good. I'm interested in this new schedule that we've implemented to see how that's going to work, and I think just let it play out and, you know, see how it happens. Hopefully it's going to do some good, and you know, we'll go from there. But that's how I feel too. I think we've done a lot of discussion, and I don't think that's been an issue discussion, but we've had a lot of new ideas and things that we've brought to the table, and you know, I'm excited to see where it goes from here, I guess. So
thanks. Commissioner McDonald?
Well, I thought we were talking about the spreadsheet that Harry sent us however long ago it was. So I got to switch my thinking here. I mean, you guys all know me, I talk a lot. I think my frustration before was it just felt like, you know, we'd say, we want to talk about the schedule, and then we'd never have a time as a commission to talk about the schedule. We'd either put it at the end of the meeting when everybody was so tired that we couldn't have an intelligent discussion, or it just kept like getting put off and put off and put off. And so I think today was great. I mean, I honestly like winning every argument. You can ask my husband. But if I think that we all feel like if we're fairly heard out and get voted on the other way, it's okay. I just want to feel like Like if, you know, if I want to change the schedule, or if I think we ought to get rid of watershed studies, or what, you know, whatever the issue is, I just want to feel like we're having a fair, open debate, and then we're gonna come together, and Mr. Evans and I are gonna come up with some lawyerly answer, and everybody goes on, and so we can keep doing things like we did today, where we're just having fair, open discussion, and the staff is getting to put in their opinions, because I think that Harry and his staff need to be able to
They work hard.
say, you know, this is why we had it, or this is the history, or we think you are crazy, you need to have 10 attorneys and 6 consultants instead of whatever you're doing. I just want to have ability to do that. And I mean, I think today has been marvelous. I've been waiting to be able to have this fair discussion about rules and operating criteria since the management audit report came out 2 years ago and identified issues. And I'm thrilled we got to have today, because I feel really good about where we're at. And I think now we can follow David's suggestion of, okay, now let's just get back to the program instead of getting to the end of the meeting and thinking, you know, we still didn't address timing, or we still didn't address sponsor issues. And I think we picked up all the issues that we kept putting off and putting off and putting off.
Just going back to the first thing that you said about the kind of the designation of duties between the office and the commission. I heard the director say that that is a subset of this. So should we include that on this list? You know, it sounds like there's a specific time when that will be discussed in the future, but should it be on this list? Is something you want to, because it's something you want to have a discussion about in the future?
Am I remembering this right, Harry? Is that originally we just thought we could kind of agree on a delegation, and then we decided, or AG or somebody decided we had to actually do it in criteria?
Well,
Help me out with my memory.
yeah, so Management Audit Committee report recommended that we have the discussion of what the commission's going to do and what the office is going to do. And that led to a document that you approved a year ago in terms of, okay, here for each specific task or function that the program has, here's the statutory authority, here's what the commission does, here's what the office does. And that was intended to be the guiding document in terms of delegation of duties. But, and this is, I guess this is, so one thing that you have to be cognizant of, especially when, you know, when Select Water is present, is that they're listening to those discussions. And it was just those discussions that led to Senator Meyer introducing a bill that would give authority for the commission to delegate duties to the office. And then, of course, when it got into the legislative session, it had what was tacked onto that is you have the authority to delegate duties, but it has to be by rule. And so so the document that you approved last October, is it in place? Yes, but the legislature is expecting that there will be a rule that shows what the delegation of duties will be. And that's something that's still in development. I anticipate, just between you and me, that will be Chapter 8 of your rule package. We approved through Chapter 7 today. That will be a future chapter that has yet to be written and such. And that's where we're trying to start the discussions of what will the commission delegate to the staff, and so we can start to have or write that document that then you can consider that. So that's kind of how we got there. But, you know, again, the legislature was listening and said, oh, there's a delegation of duties issue. So then we had the statute, and now we've got to bring a rule package to do what I think oftentimes we can just have a discussion like this, and you say, LaBondi, we want you to write letters to sponsors that don't get funded, and then we'll say, okay, we need to go do that. But I mean, when the legislature gets involved, then certainly they talk by passing laws. And so we've now got to move forward with another rule package at some point in the future.
I think Mr. Geis would call that micromanagement.
I did call it micromanagement.
It is, okay. All right, so we have to do that sometime. All right, thank you. I now do remember that. So that will be a future discussion.
So what I'm taking away from this exchange is that the document that you pulled out at the beginning of this discussion, that this commission has reviewed that. No, okay. I thought there was a mention.
No, Harry sent it to us all. We have not had a conversation about it. Right, Sheridan?
I think we have talked about that a couple of times, I think, actually. But we have to write that down in actual rules, and we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
That's just kind of a base outline of
So does that mean we'll have
who
to do
does
the
what.
rules and regulation, public comment stuff again at some point? Like the rules and regulations is always really a work in progress document. Right? So it's always being tweaked and worked out. Okay. Got it.
I think that we have pretty thoroughly discussed that issue. It was part of the management audit. I don't know how much more work there is to be done. Certainly, it sounds like it has to be a Chapter 8. The only thing I would say is I think we've gained a lot on that, being more comfortable with what the staff does and what's our purview. And I think as we discuss it further, so my pipe dream is disappearing, that we take a breather for a while. But as we discuss it further, there's a difference between being unhappy with what the staff is doing or telling them to do this or not do this and delineation of authority. I mean, it's kind of, if you start going that direction because you're unhappy with what they're doing, I think you can get into a kind of a bureaucratic mess. And I think if we have to tell the staff, we want you to do this or quit doing that, we just tell them, which I guess is what Harry mentioned. So I'm just cautioning as we get into that, which is fine. I think we want to go a little carefully because that gets very complicated, if you ask me. Has been complicated.
Okay.
And that wasn't what I was saying. I was just saying,
Well, I know.
yeah, just that the rules are a work in progress always. And we're just, the delegation of duties is just something in the future to be placed in there and for a 45-day comment, public comment, blah, blah, blah. Is that right? Okay.
But just of what you think the time frame is on that. And if you don't know.
So here's what I was thinking of doing with regards to delegation. Wanted to have a conversation in August about here's at least topics, this particular item, here's what you might delegate to staff. And I don't think we had a good, solid discussion about that in August. And actually, Karen, you were gone. That was the Wednesday work session, I believe.
I'm not now.
But before I sit down to draft a set of, or Chapter 8, I want kind of a buy-in or at least a good understanding of how everybody feels. So when I bring a document forward that hopefully everybody, yeah, that's what we were talking about. And I don't know that we've done that yet. So I can tell you that our program, bringing the projects forward, the omnibus bills, has to take a precedent. That has to be number one on, at least on my list. And so drafting of Chapter 8 is going to fall behind that. But can we have that done? I would say by maybe the March meeting, that there would be a draft document available that then we can start to have what does Chapter 8 look like and what's going to be delegation there. But so that's what I would throw out as a schedule.
Okay.
And that,
Do you have any heartburn with totals on the business. I'm not seeing anybody say yes, so it was Jeanette's turn, but we'll go to you, Commissioner Bettis. Any other issues that-
I thought today was a real good meeting. I think things went well. I liked the new schedule. I've always been in favor of one, maybe longer, because I thought we kind of got we boxed ourselves in because of the tight schedule we had, and not just us, commission-wise. I think it did the staff and things like that. I guess I tried to come to the meeting prepared, and I ask a lot of questions, and I may even call up sometimes when there's not a meeting. I think as far as Harry and this delegation of authority and things like that, I think that's something to work on. I guess one of the things that I guess I've thought of is we have what is there, three different statutes that deal with your authority and ours, or three with yours and one with ours? Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to wonder is, if we ever given any thought to getting rid of one and adding to another so it's all in one place. It makes it easy for everyone to see, not only us, but other people. And I just thought of that after you put out your the papers. But no, I thought we had a good meeting today. I thought it was a real good meeting.
Back to you.
Oh, sorry, I had to take the call. My other boss was, or my probably really only boss, but as the person whose image is probably on many people's dartboards, I'd like to say that I think that this meeting was really a great meeting. And I understand that we worked hard to get to this point. And I want to thank the staff, all of the staff, Harry, because you don't make good changes, at the seat of your pants. And so we've taken some steps forward. We've had some hiccups. And it's also given us a chance to think of the things we've been talking about for the last couple of years to, I think, make good decisions today. So I think that's, we've taken the time, although it's been, heartburning at times, and walk away, scratching your head, like spending the whole day and not coming up with stuff and not finalizing things. So I think today was the fruit of a lot of labor for the last couple of years. So, and I'm grateful for the staff for everything that they've done, because I know that we've probably, I'm sure our names have been taken in vain many times, so, which is okay, but that's, I guess it's, the learning and growing process to try to, do what needs to be done. And, I think that, and this is going to happen or not happen long after I'm off the commission. So, something that's come up in the past is the statutes, and we haven't ever really touched that with any seriousness, to work with Select Water on clarifying some statutes that we might really want to clarify that don't work, might have worked 10 or 15, 20 years ago, but maybe don't work today because things changed. And, that's why when I keep talking about getting the staff involvement, I mean, I like hearing everybody's ideas. I mean, you guys work on the ground, and, you can, it's okay. I want to hear if you think a statute or a rule or something that we think works. You're going to say, well, they're stupid. It doesn't work because of A, B, and C. We need to hear that. And I think all of your staff, you've got a qualified staff at every level. And I'd like to hear them tell us, yes, you're on the right track, or no, you're not. And I know that you try to get that filtered, through yourself as the representative of the staff, but it's also nice just to hear, sitting around the table having coffee, everybody's thoughts, whether they think, and if we can't do anything about it, if it's a rule or a statute, we can't do anything about it, but we know why it's a good statute or a stupid statute. And how do we how do we try, what do we do to try to make it better? I guess that's kind of my thoughts long term, but like I said, I'll be long gone off the commission when people may or may not want to take that up. But, so, I'm very grateful for today because I feel like we've accomplished some things. And I don't think it's been an easy place to get to today. So, but it means that everybody was committed, which I think is a good thing. And we've all stuck together even when we've wanted to strangle each other. So, and I think our goal is to get water to people. And that's what we're all here for. The staff is here for that. We're here for that. So
I would like to give the director and staff a chance to say if there are any issues you'd like to add to this list.
Well, so let me say that in the last 2 years, the commission and this is a commission that I think has requested and wanted more information, okay, and has questioned our processes. And I've found that frustrating from a standpoint that, and I'm kind of a simple guy, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it's working, why do we want to change that? And I have to kind of come to grips for that. I thought today was a great day, and it's kind of the culmination of a lot of these changes that we've been talking about. But I will tell you that part of my having that opinion is driven from the fact that when you come to a meeting and say, well, we want this, we want that, and we want to evaluate consultants, say, I just use that as an example, that what that does when it comes to the staff, that means additional work for the staff. And I can tell you that in order to bring 60 some projects forward every year for funding and administer this program and get the projects built, that takes everything in terms of the staff, in terms of being able to do that. And so when I see new things coming on board, that's more staff time. And I'm looking at these people here that when I drive by the office on weekends and their vehicles are parked out in the parking lot, I react to that, hey, these additional information requests, while legitimate, mean a lot more staff efforts. And so I want to try to streamline the system, make it easier for us to get projects in the door and out the door and built. And so that's kind of been my resistance through this whole process, that, gee, it's been working pretty good for 30 years. Do we really need to change this and that? And so that's something I need to apologize, quite frankly, because I've been resistant in that. And maybe, well, again, these folks here would call me a dinosaur probably. And it's because if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, I have to say that I think it's a better run program today in terms of the commission being better informed. I mean, there's still things about you need more information or you need it sooner. I think the March 1 schedule will help that. So I think, quite frankly, the last item on my list would be this delegation of duties that need to get a draft document in front of you, and let's all agree that here's what the commission's going to do, here's what the staff's going to do to support you in bringing forward a program. So, but I guess, I probably in my comments, when somebody suggests, well, why don't we do this, that my response may be quick to say, well, we don't need to do that. Or, do you really want to do that? And so it's more questioning, but just know that what I'm really thinking about is we're not adding more staff. That's a given. We're stuck with our staff. And so if we want more information, that means more staff time. I don't want to say burnout potentially, but it takes everything we have from 25 employees to keep this program running. And I think it's a very well-respected program across the state, and us being able to provide good customer service. We've been able to finance the bulk of the projects and get some good projects built on the ground. And so it takes a lot of effort to do that. So I'm all about let's keep it simple to the extent. And so when it comes to rules, I'm more inclined to say, I don't think we need rules. I think, we can have these conversations, but I understand rules are part of the process and we want to enhance those and make them better. I think we got there today. So I'm glad we've done that. And if you were to walk into my office, there's a stack of paper about yay deep. That is the rules and operating criteria, all of the multiple versions that we've gone through over the last not quite 2 years to get to where we are today. So I think we're in a good spot, but I apologize if I've come off as resistant and not wanting to change the program that, quite frankly, I think has been working well, but that doesn't mean it can't be better.
Thanks. So what I'm hearing you say is maintain, and other commissioners have said, maintain the lines of communication open so that when there is a desire for more information or a question or an issue, make sure that this provides a forum for those questions to be asked and for responses to be given so that you all understand why something is a good idea, or what some of the factors are that you need to take into consideration, and to please carefully consider requests for additional information, ensure that they are really adding value to the program, because the director is asking you to consider the impacts on staff. Is that fair summary? Okay.
So Jennifer, you mentioned other staff. I would like to afford that opportunity to the staff that's here. If you have things you would like to say. Where we're at?
Come at once.
Isn't the last time I tried to do this, you have to ask them a specific question. So Jason.
Have a microphone.
Before Jason makes a comment, I want to say one other thing. I think all of us are, I certainly have the gene that Harry mentions about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I certainly have that gene, okay? And that's probably my comfort zone. But I think that's, and all of us have come on the commission at different times. So we come in with, so one of the things that's happened over the last couple of years, and maybe was pushed by the LSO, by the audit, is that we were facing having the program change or be different, either by us taking the lead or the legislature taking the lead. And I guess I viewed it about 2 years ago that I'd rather it be us taking the lead than being something being jammed down our throat. Because you're right, this was a good program 30 years ago. It's still a good program, but you could see the writing on the wall, and even before the LSO audit. And then when that happened, we sort of thought, okay, the boat's starting to rock a little bit. So I think that while yes, it ain't broke, don't fix it, but obviously other people weren't looking at it that way. And so my position a couple of years ago was we need to be ahead of the train rather than being pushed aside by that. And so, I can't speak for any other commissioner, but that sort of was started to be my thinking a couple of years ago, that I'd rather, and it's been stumbling, but we've had a couple of meetings with some of the legislators on select water, and instead of now being at loggerheads, hopefully like this last session was, where some things could have been done that would have not necessarily been in the best interest of the program, we've now hopefully gotten into a collaborative mode, hopefully with staff, commission, and select water. So it's more collaborative rather than not. And maybe that's been the result of all of this hard work, which I think is a good result, actually. So I guess we'll find out at the next legislative session, but, so.
My general comment is just, it's always challenging as staff because we've got some staff members that have been with water development for 20 plus years, and there's a lot of institutional knowledge. And whenever somebody retires or we get a new director, there goes another 20 years of institutional knowledge. And to be honest with you, commissioners have a limited term, so you come and go. And it's challenging to educate or get you guys to understand on what we do on a day-to-day basis and why we do it, and a lot of the history that goes into why. And for instance, I don't know how many times I heard watershed study and municipal master plan be referred to as a level 1, like they were synonymous. And it's frustrating because it's hard to get everybody to know what we do on a day-to-day basis and the intricacies of the program and the criteria and all that stuff. So I think that raised a lot of questions from the commission, and maybe the staff took it as questioning or lack of trust when it probably was just lack of understanding. So I think a better, I don't know, if we have sit downs where we in workshops where we explain master plans or the history of master plans, and go get Jody Pavlika, who's been here 20 plus years, to explain why this happened or that happened over the years. But I guess really that's my only comment, was educating everybody and the difficulty in doing that with interchanging commissioners. But I agree that we're all on the same page. We're all trying to help Wyoming citizens and the state of Wyoming in general. We have everybody's best interests in mind. So that's all I've got to say. I would say actually one more thing. Just sorry. In regards to statutes, and I think this has come up a lot. Statutes, I think for our program, were probably put in place in whenever the program was put in place.
75 to 78.
And there's been a lot of progress made since then. And I think we've heard both sides. Well, the statute says this, so we've got to do that. And other people have said, well, the statute's outdated and it was written a long time ago. So I guess I don't want to see statutes get in the way of progress and why things have changed over the years, because we can do it better now than when the statutes were written. And if we're just hanging our hats on the statutes and exactly what they say, I feel that turns us into a bureaucracy, and that's what we don't want to be. So.
Lawyer, I did not hear you say that.
I guess I just want to reiterate something that Jason said. That's been one of my big things. I appreciate all the work that you guys have done here today. I know it's taken a lot to do that, and there's a steep learning curve when you come on this commission. I understand, and I've only been in this agency for 3 years, so I completely understand the steep learning curve. I guess I would like to reiterate what Jason said about the trust factor. We have a lot of really good people on our staff, and a lot of them that have been there for a while. So oftentimes it may seem confusing, or you don't understand why it is that we've done something, but we don't often go about things without a lot of thought put into something. So I guess I would just encourage that if you do have a question like that, to ask. And I'll speak directly to a couple of things too that I heard today, because I am the River Basin Planning Supervisor, that I understand some of what you had said, Karen, about, that being in our program criteria and all of that. And we have listened to what you guys have said over the years. We pay attention, we write things down, because we want to make sure we're expressing to you and listening to what you're saying so we can change things around. That's why we've changed things in the River Basin Planning Program. We're not going to go back and do things that we've done before. But we have listened to what you guys said and really have tried to take those words and make them mean something by changing the program and taking it in a different direction. So sometimes it takes a little while for things to happen. You've all been in government before, so it's not like the wheels turn all that quickly. So it's not that we're not listening to you. It just sometimes takes a while to steer a ship in a different direction. And it doesn't always happen overnight. But like I think Jason's point of just the trust factor, I'm hoping that a lot of that has been talked about and expressed here today, that if you guys ever have questions about something, I would encourage you to ask why we've done something, because there's probably a reason, and probably a pretty good one, for why things are being done the way they're being done. So.
Well, I think though, if you're speaking about the trust factor, I think one of the things that will help it is to have more communication instead of raising an issue and then hearing, oh, we'll talk about it later. I mean, at least to me, that is incredibly frustrating. And so if we start raising issues about why do we require watershed plans? I mean, it was the way it was, but it took, what, we've been saying that for a year at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that what will help that is if these questions come up, either on your side, I mean, you guys have the same thing. If you think the commission is nuts,
You need to be able to say that.
you guys need to be comfortable enough to say that, to
Yeah.
say,
You guys are
this-
crazy.
Yeah, this request that you're making is gonna cost, 90 hours that we don't have.
Right.
I mean, I think that's perfectly fair to raise that with us as well.
Yes.
It's the when discussions get put off, I think that's when you start thinking we don't trust each other. Cause I'm thinking, okay, they don't want to talk about it. That means they don't have a good answer. I mean, that's what I do to my kids all the time. And so I think if we really try to, as issues come up, if we just deal with them with an open discussion instead of just feeling like you get put off, I think that'll help. I think that this whole trust thing will go away, because then, I mean, you guys may have a great reason for wanting to do something the way you've done it for the last 40 years. And so say it right away instead of wait till next meeting. No, let's wait till the next meeting. Oh, let's wait till the next meeting, because then everybody gets suspicious. Say something about weather modification. No. All right. I'm kidding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple comments. Obviously, it's your role to set the policy and direction for the program, and it's staff role to carry out those wishes, okay? And we do the best we can and with what we're given. And that having been said, I've been here 18 years. In the past 2 years, there's been more changes than the previous 16 combined. So to give you an idea, so obviously from the staff perspective and the folks that work for me, there's some growing pains, some frustrations. It's a lot in a very short amount of time. And I jotted down some things to give you an idea. Some of the things that we've been dealing with that we've changed. We're now doing public hearings at level 2 instead of level 3. Okay. We are now doing consultant performance reviews, which take a significant amount of time. We're now looking at volume of work previously awarded. We are also doing project closeout memos on all of our planning projects. We have now assigned commissioners shadowing on projects throughout from start to finish. We are now also notifying commission of all of our project meetings, hearings, everything. You get regular updates. We're also doing construction updates at the meetings, which we never used to do. And now we are doing new schedules, operating criteria rules, and design build. So it's a lot in a very short time. So obviously there's going to be some growing pains there. So, I appreciate the comments that I heard earlier about let's back up, take a deep breath, and let's roll up our sleeves and deal with what we got in front of us now. And I think that would really help things a lot.
I agree with you, but the first 4 things on your list are statutory requirements.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't
I'm not,
pretend like we
Mr.
don't
Chairman, I'm not
exist.
saying abrogate those responsibilities, but we've been operating this way for a long time. So we're starting to make those changes, but there's just more and more and more in a very short time.
I understand that. I just want to make the point that some of the stuff that we are now requiring has always been in the statute, and we've been violating the statute. I mean, some of that stuff we have to do unless go to the legislature.
Thank you.
I guess I don't have much more to add than what's already been said. I think Harry probably summarized it well with, and Barry here with just the amount of work in a short period of time that we've seen a lot of changes. And I think as a staff, we're all looking forward to getting a little bit of a break, it sounds like, and maybe some easy sledding. But I enjoy working for the agency. I've been here for 11 years.
It's a great program. We're doing good work for the state. I worked in the private side for over 20 years, and this is something I really love to do. I like water work, working in the water field, and again, I think it's a great program. So the fact that we're helping Wyoming citizens with water, important. That's important in the West. Long term, looking at providing water to these citizens for long term, and again, I think it's just a great program. I enjoy working there, and I would extend the same to the commission that you've asked us to talk to you if we have any concerns. I'd welcome you to talk to us too, and talk to. If you have any concerns or questions, feel free. And I certainly don't want to overstep Harry's authority, but with his permission, I mean, I'd be happy to talk to you about any of the issues that we've got going on. I've talked to commissioners individually that on separate projects or concerns. But again, I'm always available. If you got any questions or concerns, feel free to call me.
And I would endorse that. And the folks in the room here, and of course, we've been through that this year. If you want to talk to a project manager, please feel free to do that. I do hope that I would be informed, in terms of germane issues that move up the chain, that I need to be aware of some of those conversations as well. So, but you're welcome to talk to certainly those 4 people who head up the divisions within water development, and they're closer to those projects than I am, but. There's no barrier, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of communicating with them.
I just summarize, and you can let me know if I get anything wrong, but I heard pretty broad agreement on the idea of implement the changes that you've all agreed on today and over the last several months, and see how that works, and allow yourselves the time to get back to the main mission of the program. And then lots of things that folks suggested keep doing. Keep the lines of communication open, maintain the ability for fair and open discussion among the commission members and with staff. So make sure that there's the opportunity, like you had today, to ask questions of staff and hear responses and reasons and thoughts about, doing things differently. So maintain the lines of communication is a big thing that I heard. And then continue there have been a lot of changes, as Barry mentioned. So, and it sounds like providing some additional information that is required and more in advance has been very helpful. Keep asking if you have questions, and I think that should go on both sides. And then the two or three perhaps new things that I heard were this, and it's not new, but delegation of duties. So, and what I heard is that there needs to be a commission discussion of that. Following that, the staff will draft a language for a rule. And then there will be discussion of that, and the proposed timeline is March for that. So the discussion would happen in January, is that?
I think we could schedule that for the work session in January at your meeting and have that discussion.
Okay, so delegation of duties, and then there are a couple of people who said consider streamlining and clarifying statutes. Sounds to me like if we take this sentiment into account, that this should probably wait a little while until you see how the current changes to the rules and regulations and operating criteria are working. Does that make sense, Commissioner Bettis? I think you're the one who raised this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to put a date on that one. It'll just be on your list for something to come back to after you've had a chance to see how the current system works, unless you would like to put a timeline on there for revisiting that.
No, I think that's something that, we can decide, but I think we're going to have to work in conjunction with Select Water, and I don't know how, I guess, receptive they would be to that. Really, I can't see where they'd have a problem, but I think it's just hard to say.
Well, you'll need to work with Select Water, and if we need statute changes, then they're the ones that.
Allison, right, that's right.
Okay, and the third suggestion that I heard was really related to the communication and information, which is if there are, so this is more of the next level down of potential operational action to take. If there are major issues or processes that the commission doesn't understand, consider having a workshop on it, where there can be a presentation about it and questions asked. And I'm not sure there needs to be a timeline put on this. I think this is really, if and when an issue comes up, then you consider this as one strategy to help increase understanding.
That's going to be ongoing because, and also as commissioners turn over, that's going to have to happen repetitively, you know, as new people come on. And so I think that's just an ongoing, you know, there's no timeline on it. It's going to happen routinely, probably.
So maintain lines of communication, open lines of communication, implement the changes you've agreed on and see how they work. Take up the delegation of duties in the new year. And over the longer term, you may come back and revisit the idea of streamlining the statutes. I think those are the main outcomes that I'm taking away. Does anybody have anything to add? Anything that I missed? All right. Anything
I'd
you'd
like to
add?
say a couple things if I could.
Please do.
Along the lines of taking a deep breath, which got squashed early because we have this delegation of duties between commissioners and
It's not
staff
squashed.
still to
It's
do.
not squashed.
I'll say this because I think now's the opportunity to say it. I'd like that list, even if it has to be changed from what we've seen so far, kind of along the lines of taking a deep breath, short and simple as to the division of duties. And I think the commission list is particularly short. And I think the staff does all the rest. And I think that's because they spend 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year doing it. We don't spend that much time. So I think it should be, I would sure hope we see something, not only for the purposes of the deep breath, but just philosophically fairly short and simple. And then the last thing I want to say is sometimes we forget, and I know from talking about this with others, in large part thanks to Senator Geis, I mean, our water program is kind of the envy of a lot of states. You know, the amount of attention and unity between the legislature and the commission on it, and the money that's devoted to it, and the funding system in the statutes. And we got to keep that in mind because we can get lost in this other stuff. And I think we are all trying to knock out projects, but we got a pretty good system that we want to keep going. Help Pine Haven and
There you go.
Lingle and so.
Any other closing thoughts? You can start down here this time and go around this way.
No, I just, I hope as we take this deep breath, because I'm certainly ready to, and I if whatever frustration that the staff has had, I hope that you can feel like it's, the work that you've done hasn't been for nothing, I think, because I think we've made progress with the commission, with the program, and I think with Select Water. I mean, that's probably still yet to come, but I think that this hard work is going to pay off, I think, to continue keeping this program a good program, and the envy, as Dave said, I think it's the envy of most other state agencies, you know, of how it works. And I think our marathon meeting in August with Select Water there, I think that they were a little surprised at the depth in which we take how seriously we take this, the commission, and how seriously the staff takes it. And I think that that speaks well for us as a entire group. So the work hasn't been in vain, even though it's probably been frustrating, I'm sure. So I want to thank you all for all the work that you've done.
The rest of the staff.
And the rest of the staff. I hope you do pass that on to all of the people that work, you know, all the project managers, because it hasn't been for nothing. So thank you all very much.
Any final thoughts?
See, yeah, hurry up and wrap the gavel and I'm right on.
All right. Anybody on this end?
All we need to do is remember that we're a team and that we're not enemies.
right.
And that, you know, funding, when it gets tight, makes things tough. And when we had lots of money to throw around, it was a lot easier from what I can see from being on this commission. And when things get tight, it's just like in a family, when things get tight and you got to quit the hamburgers eating out, well, it makes
Go
it
to the
tough.
hamburger, quit the steaks.
Well, whatever. But anyway,
Great,
I'm
thanks.
proud to be on this bunch of people, be with you.
Very good. Well, I want to congratulate you because you have achieved all the objectives that you set out for yourselves for this meeting. You had an open discussion about the proposed revisions to the 3 guiding documents. You adopted all 3 of them, all the proposed revisions to all 3 of them. So, and that's one thing I wasn't sure if, you know, if you're going to be able to come to conclusion on all 3 today. So congratulations on that. And this last session, I think, was a really good discussion, recognizing the progress that you've made, as well as identifying a few areas that you want to continue to work on to continue to maintain a constructive relationship between the office and the commission. And, only a couple issues to take up in January and March. So congratulations. Good meeting, and you accomplished a lot.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, Harry
Hold on.
Harry. So, Chairman, under the heading of better communications, let me just advise you that a week from tomorrow, October 27th, the JAC is meeting in Casper. One of the items on their agenda is to review non-project appropriations from the Water Development Fund. And it goes back to the diversion of the $6 million. It's now about a $7.5 million diversion per year to the state engineer's office. They're going to look at those non-project appropriations. Andy has spent a fair amount of time providing information to the LSO in terms of last 10 years of revenue into the system, the last 10 years of project expenditures, the last 10 years of non-project expenditures. And so there's going to be a discussion in talking with at least a couple of legislators. There's a question of whether that means that they're looking to raid the water development program further, or whether they're truly looking to try to minimize the non-project appropriations. So Pat Terrell will be there. So will Bridget Hill with regards to state lands, myself, and we'll be providing testimony and or answering questions from the JAC. So
I'm not gonna get any easier.
I think we should, you need help, Harry? I mean, would you like people from the commission to help you, or at least be there?
well, I think, again, it's focused on non-project appropriations. They've asked for those directors to be there, so I would leave it at that. It's not so much a lobbying effort, is they want information. I do not know, again, whether they're proceeding down a track of let's reduce the non-project appropriations, or whether they're proceeding down a track of can we make greater non-project appropriations out of water development. Don't know at this point in time. So we won't know until, quite frankly, we get into the legislative session. So I would keep it simple. The numbers speak for themselves, and I just, in round numbers, Water Development Account 1 gets about $23 million a year in revenue. And our non-project appropriations are now somewhere on the order of, I'm going to say, $13 million a year. So we're now into a $10 million a year Water Development Account 1 project ability to fund projects, and it's a little disheartening because we've funded $25 to $30 million a year in the past.
Harry, is there any way we can get that information when Andy gets done that you're going to present, so that we're up to speed in case we run into somebody or we want to say something to somebody? We're using the same figures.
So, Mr. Chairman, yes, that information has been assimilated by the LSO from the various agencies. It wasn't just water development. they have a staff memo to the JAC, which just showed up in our office this week. So I'll be happy to produce a copy and send it to all of you. So you know exactly what they're considering, so. And I don't expect that there will be any decisions made per se Friday. They're also, I think they're looking at, I think the prison is on the agenda, so they've got some other big issues they're dealing with. But that non-project appropriations, I believe, is one of the interim topics that was referred to JAC, so.
That, last item is future meeting schedule.
November 1st through the 3rd in Casper. We'll meet at the Oil and Gas Commission building, so if you haven't talked to Katie with regards to motel arrangements, to verify that, yes, you will be there, you need a motel room, you want to get that tied up, and then see you in Casper in a couple weeks.
Bubbleheads.
Okay. Any questions on that? With that, you know what to do.
To
Who
adjourn.
wants to make a motion?
No, I second his motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
See you in a couple weeks.